I can say without any equivocation, we will not depart from the path that we have embarked upon for empowerment and transformation. That is something that I will put up here clearly because it is in our Constitution. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. We now move to the third question. Question number 9, which has been asked by Honorable G. Breitenbach. The question is about what steps the President intends taking to ensure that members of his cabinet act in accordance with the government's commitment to build a capable and ethical state in the light of the allegations against the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. Honorable the President.
The Executive Members' Ethics Act of 1998 provides a legislative basis for the promotion of ethical conduct by all members of the Executive. The law makes provision for a code of ethics that prescribes standards and rules in support of open, democratic, and accountable government. The Executive Ethics Code, which was promulgated on 28 July 2000, says that members must, to the satisfaction of the President or Premier, perform their duties and exercise their powers diligently and honestly. It requires that they act in all respects in a manner that is consistent with the integrity of their office. Among other things, the Code says that members may not use their position to enrich themselves or improperly benefit any other person. They may not expose themselves to any situation involving the risk of a conflict between their official responsibilities and their private interests. To promote transparency as well as accountability, every member must disclose to the Secretary of the Cabinet on an annual basis their financial interests and those of their spouses, permanent companions, or dependent children. To provide an additional layer of assurance, the Act requires the Public Protector to be in a position to investigate any alleged breach of the Code of Ethics on receipt of a complaint by the President or a Member of Parliament. This establishes what I would call a robust mechanism for ensuring that members of the Executive adhere to the Code and that they generally uphold the ethical standards that are required or expected of them. I've made it clear to the members of the Executive that I appointed on 30th July 2024 that they are expected to meet the standards established by the Executive Ethics Code and to uphold the oath that we all took, and that they should abide by the oath. And this is what we expect of every member of the Executive. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Supplementary question comes from Advocate G. Breitenbach.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and good afternoon, Mr. President.
If you can please bring the mic closer to you.
Given that this matter raises serious questions about the integrity of the Minister's financial dealings.
Honorable Member, we cannot hear you.
May I sit down?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Given that this matter raises serious questions about the integrity of the Minister's financial dealings and the glaring conflict of interest on the part of the Minister, with the startling contradictions in the dodgy loan agreement, illustrated by the fact that the Financial Sector Conduct Authority yesterday debarred and fined the Minister's financial advisor for his part in the VBS debacle, will the President remove the Minister and make the findings of this review public to uphold transparency and accountability in government? I thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I did say, and with the active participation of the Minister, and I said that I've requested the Minister to submit to me a report on exactly what has happened. That document report has been submitted together with various annexures, and that is a matter that I'm giving consideration to. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Van Rooyen.
Musa Khotla. Mr. President, as MK Party, we take it as a common cause that in order for you to objectively handle the matter concerning Minister Semilani, you will effectively require that law enforcement agencies should act in consistent and impartial manner in their interpretation and application of the law. But we all know reality dictates otherwise. For example, the NPA itself, as our prosecuting authority, is not without its own blemishes. The Center for Development Enterprise just recently on its report on the 1st of this month lamented what they characterize as dismal record when it comes to initiating prosecutions and securing convictions. The center says there are rogue elements and obstructiveness in NPA. They even recommend that...
Honorable Member, if you can summarize, your time is up.
The straightforward question, Mr. President, is that can the President take this House into confidence on how your government of the DA-led coalition will ensure that the state apparatus are not used for spurious reasons? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I thought I heard the member say the government of the DA-led something. Now, what we have is a government of national unity, in which...
Order, honorable members. Your answer, I'm sure you'd want to hear. Honorable President.
It looks like I've pressed a very painful button. Now, what we have is a government of national unity in which 10 political parties that are represented here participate, as well as some others participate in a parliament of national unity. Now, I can assure the honorable member that there is just no way.
On a point of order, Speaker. On a point of order.
Yes, thank you very much, honorable member. Sorry, I didn't see you. Honorable Malima.
I think the President is deliberately misleading the House. There is no parliament of national unity. There is no such a thing.
Thank you, honorable member. Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. There are parties that are not represented in the government of national unity that are working together with those parties that are part of the government of national unity. And however one describes them is obviously open for discussion or debate. What I wanted to assure the honorable member on is that there is just no intention, no action whatsoever that will be taken in the executive that I lead to utilize state institutions against members or anyone. Those institutions are institutions that we hold in high regard, the highest regard, and they've been granted the independence by our Constitution, and we let them do their work without any fear, favor, or any prejudice. I had occasion to meet with a number of these institutions, together with a number of members of the executive, to deal primarily with their logistical issues, their organizational matters, but I took time to thank them for the work they do, but also gave them the full assurance that we respect their independence and we want to urge them and strengthen them in their resolve to be independent, to act without any favor and without any prejudice. That I repeated ad nauseum to them, and it is out of adhering to the precepts of our Constitution that we need to do that. And we will, Honourable Member, continue to do precisely that and not seek to use any of the arms of the state to take actions against any citizen in South Africa. And those institutions must act independently on their own to do their work, whether it's investigative, whether it's prosecutorial, and whether they have to do anything that will advance the interests of the people of South Africa. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable President. Honourable NZ Buthelezi.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable President, since the conclusion of the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture, there has been little to deter the ongoing association between corruption and public office. A key reason for this is sadly the failure to prosecute many of those implicated. As the first citizen of the country, it is crucial that you set a strong precedent by unequivocally condemning unethical leadership, as it robs our people of the opportunity to live in a corruption-free South Africa. Can the Honourable President, as head of the Cabinet and State, reassure the nation by explaining how he has addressed this issue in a way that will prevent similar incidents in the future? I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable President.
Honourable Speaker, I have said repeatedly that one of the objectives that we have embarked upon to deal firmly with the period that we went through of state capture is to ensure that the institutions are strengthened once again. Many of our institutions had become weak, and they had been weakened deliberately. And we have sought and continue to do so to strengthen them by ensuring that they have the independence, reassuring them for that matter, and that they should act in accordance with the law, and they should act without favor or prejudice, as I was saying earlier. Those who have been referred to in various reports, especially the report on state capture, will in the end have to be dealt with by the various institutions whose job and whose function is to either investigate these matters or to act upon them. The day the President gets involved in identifying certain people to be investigated, to be prosecuted, and to be judged, as I've often said, even in the previous Parliament, that is the day we have to run for the hills. The function of the President is, amongst other things, to strengthen those institutions so that they do their work independently. And this, honourable members, I will continue repeating, notwithstanding various suspicions that may fly around, suspicions that may even suggest that the President did this, the Deputy President also did this, and both of us, as we sit at the head of the executive, will never be involved in such activities. We will allow the institutions of our nation to do their work and to give the assurance once again. Whatever name has been mentioned in the State Capture Commission report will be dealt with, will be looked at by those institutions whose job is to do precisely that. And by strengthening those institutions and by establishing others that can strengthen our democracy, I do believe that it puts South Africa on a much stronger and firmer footing where the rule of law, our democracy, becomes stronger and not susceptible to the whims of any individual who may want to take action against certain people that he may like or may not like. So that is precisely where we stand as an executive, and that's precisely where I also stand firmly as the President of the Republic. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, President. Honorable TKS Litlape.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon, Mr. President. We are considered honorable and as such need to be guided by ethics and operate way above the requirements of law, guided by our responsibilities and not our rights. What will it take for the President to allow the Minister of Justice a leave of absence to clear the cloud that surrounds her and give the President as much time to consider the matter, whilst preserving the sanctity of the office of the Minister of Justice, to give those of us awaiting justice reason to have hope and faith in the justice system, and that the dignity of the Justice Minister be preserved.
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Dr. Letlape. It will take giving the President the time and opportunity to consider this matter so that finality can then be reached. And so therefore, Honorable Letlape, that's precisely what one has been saying, that, and I may have been thought to be saying it glibly when I said I need time and space to be able to do so. And I'd like to repeat that yes, this matter is under consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President. We now move to the fourth question asked by Honorable Mulder. The question is, considering the positive outcomes of the first 100 days of the Government of National Unity, is it the President's intention to extend the principle of GNU to all spheres of government? Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, in its first 100 days, the Government of National Unity has indeed proven its value and its worth to the country and its people. The GNU, as we've come to call it, has effectively managed what I would call a smooth transition from the 6th to the 7th democratic administration. It has ensured stability and continuity. It has promoted inclusivity. Importantly, it has brought together a broad spectrum of political parties to work together to advance shared principles and also to pursue a common program of action to address the challenges that confront our nation. It is significant, Honorable Speaker, that the GNU has not only agreed on the priority actions outlined in the opening of Parliament address on the 18th of July, but has already made progress in undertaking a number of these actions. Building on the work of the previous administration, the GNU has worked with social partners to stabilize the country in a number of ways. When it comes, for instance, to one of our recurring challenge and problem, which was electricity supply, and also to improve the performance of our logistics and our ports. It has introduced a number of other initiatives, such as new visa regulations to attract skills to our country, but more importantly, it has generated a lot of interest in our country when it comes to investment and tourism. This morning, I spent time with key players in the auto sector. The auto sector contributes about 5.3% to our GDP and employs close to 500,000 people in its own manufacturing base of cars and trucks, buses, right down to components. And nearly everyone who spoke at that occasion, which was led by Minister Pax Tau and the MEC for Transport, I think here in the Western Cape, everyone spoke very positively about the climate that is prevailing in our country, the interest that investors, both local and international, are having in the future prospects of economic growth in our country. And work is underway across government to improve the prospects of inclusive growth, to create employment and training opportunities for young people, to improve the quality of health and education, and also to tackle crime and corruption and to provide social support to those South Africans most in need. And this is what I think we can say the Government of National Unity is yielding. The work of the Government of National Unity has been positively received by South Africans who are feeling much more confident about the direction that the country is taking now. There is also a marked improvement in sentiment amongst investors, various actors in a number of sectors of the industry or the economy. Whether the GNU approach can and should be extended to other spheres of government is, Honorable Mulder, a matter that the political parties need to discuss amongst themselves. The experience of the Government of National Unity has to date been encouraging and also instructive. As a country and as political parties, we should see what lessons can be drawn and if there are other circumstances in which we can apply precisely the practice or the lessons that we are drawing from the Government of National Unity. We should all recall that in the end the Government of National Unity was not an instruction from one person, it was a coming together of various political parties by themselves to finally agree on a statement of intent and common principles with a view of taking our country forward. So I would in the end say it behoves on various political parties having the will, the determination to work together and take whatever sphere of government forward to address the challenges that our country faces. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Dr. C.P. Mulder.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Thank you, Mr. President, for your comprehensive response. In your first newsletter from your desk after the formation or your election on the 24th of June, you wrote the following, and I quote, "The success of the GNU will be measured by the extent to which we are prepared to focus not on who will govern, but on how we will govern together." And as you correctly pointed out, since the election and the creation of the Government of National Unity, the Rand has strengthened with approximately 7%. The bond market is up with 11%. The JSE main board has gone up with 10%. Inflation has come down. So has interest rates. The tourism sector has a very strong recovery, and the mood in the country has been lifted. It is also so that the concept of the government of national unity has not been extended to the other spheres of government. And the question immediately would be, if it is successful on the national level, why would it not be successful on other levels of government? The question I would like to ask is this something that you would like to see be discussed amongst political parties as a first point of departure then in the new clearinghouse that has been created within the government of national unity? Thank you, sir.
The Honourable President.
Yes, thank you, Honourable House Chair. The answer to your question, Honourable Mulder, is yes. The participants from the various 10 parties had a meeting of, if you call it the clearing house, some call it the technical committee, but I see it correctly as the clearing forum, where matters amongst the 10 political parties are discussed. They held their first meeting really, after I convened all of them over dinner some weeks ago, and they discussed a variety of issues. So, put it more in a straightforward manner, I would say yes. It's a matter that should also be discussed in the clearing house or in the clearing forum of the 10 political parties. It's a matter that we can never say we should run away from. The government of national unity is working at a national level, and it is, as I was saying in my reply, we should draw lessons for how it is functioning, and in the end be able to say other lessons we can draw from this experience that we are going through now, so as to ensure that we meet the interests of our people, because in the end it is the interests of our people that we should focus on. And all those positive indicators that you are speaking of have really also been generated by the government of national unity idea. And wherever I go internationally, including on our own continent, people keep saying, heads of government, ordinary members keep saying, even in the streets of our country, I'm stopped as I take my morning walks, they keep saying, this was a very good development for our country, and we also took the trouble, Honourable Mulder, to explain it to the world when we addressed the United Nations General Assembly. We explained exactly what had happened in South Africa and the direction that the country has taken, and the Secretary General of the United Nations, when we met him, applauded us and said that you are once again a shining example for how a country and its various role players can be brought together to work together. So that is exactly where we are. Thank you, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable President. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Direko.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable President, we have noted the positive outcomes of the first 100 days of GNU. So in future, how is the President going to sustain this working relations in terms of our transformation agenda, statement of intent, and the political mandates from different political parties? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. I'd like to say that there's really no magic to this. The real answer lies in how all the political parties that are part of the Government of National Unity are committed to working together, but also, more importantly, committed to finding solutions to the various areas where they may differ. And as we have said, The Government of National Unity is made up of 10 parties that come from completely different, in many instances, different ideological backgrounds, different histories, different experiences, and composed of people from different backgrounds and different areas in our country. And we have said that we will seek to work together and find solutions for whatever challenge and difficulty that we come across, and find compromises. And indeed, right from the word go, what the 10 political parties did was to underpin their own coming together by agreeing that whilst we have, for instance, different election manifestos, we will try and find what brings us together, what is common amongst us, but more importantly, we will try to determine what is in the interests of the people of South Africa. And that is precisely what we believe we should focus on more resolutely. And in doing so, we should then ensure that we handle areas where we differ head on and be able to discuss them and be able to find solutions. Some of us were taught by the great Nelson Mandela that there is no problem without a solution. And if we hold on to that, that every problem has a solution lying around somewhere, and we seek that solution, we will be able to find it with a view of moving our country forward. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable President. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. Mr. President, if you acknowledge that the GNU has made wonderful progress, then the only explanation for siding with everyone but your GNU partners in Tshwane is that you either cannot or will not take a stand against the Premier of Gauteng and lead your own party. Mr. President, which one is it?
The Honorable President. Order, honorable members.
Honorable House Chair, without being flippant, I'm tempted to say, what type of a question is that? But then again, to observe the decorum that I should have here, is that in the end, as I said earlier, the issue of how parties work together really depends on their willingness and determination to embrace one another and find solutions, and to listen to one another. And in listening to one another, they should be able to seek solutions. But also in the end, it also depends on the chemistry amongst the participants themselves. And I think we should also rely on the key area of the principles that those who are participants should adhere to. So I will not specifically refer to any of the areas where parties are seeking to work together, be it in Gauteng, in KZN, in the Western Cape, or wherever. That should be left to the participants, guided by key principles that they should all adhere to. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable members, the last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Maimane.
Thank you, House Chairperson, and to the President. I think it is undeniable the fact that we're seeing some green shoots that emanate from the Government of National Unity. What I'm fascinated by, though, Mr. President, is the fact that now, as revealed this weekend, The executive is costing the fiscus in salaries over 600 million rand. You add VIP protection, travel, etc. This now starts to head towards the billions. We are now heading towards the midterm budget policy statement, and I'd like to ask the President, given that we are cutting teachers, healthcare workers, frontline services, particularly in education, is the question, could the President at least commit to cutting the executive, more specifically deputy ministers, in order to free up resources for students in South Africa? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Order, Honourable Members.
The issue of the size of the executive is a matter that has arisen on a number of occasions. And when we did finally agree to a government of national unity for the 7th administration, I took the trouble to discuss it with the various leaders of the various political parties. And I did say this is the reality that we now face as we establish the government of national unity, as we seek to engender stability in our country, and said that for a time we will need to bear the cost to ensure that there is stability and we move forward with the government of national unity. I have said in the past that yes, we do need to reduce our executive, but this time, due to the exigency of the situation that we face, as well as the circumstances that we are subjected to, we had to come to this point, but we will keep an eye on the costs on an ongoing basis, and in 2 weeks or so, the Minister of Finance will be delivering his medium-term policy budget statement, and we will then be able to have some light in terms of how the finances of our country will continue being managed. It's a matter that is top of mind for me, Honourable Maimane. It's not a matter that one is just happy with, because we do need to ensure that every rand is spent advancing the overall interests of our people. But right now, in setting up the government of national unity, we had to get to this point, but we will keep an eye on the expenditure side of our budget. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable President. Honourable Members, question number 11 has been asked by the Honourable W.T. Letsie. The question is about recent organized criminal syndicate violence, which use kidnapping to extort money from victims, and noting that some of those who have been arrested are police officers, as well as a number of illegal foreign nationals. What are the full details of any policy changes regarding policing that he intends to implement? The Honourable President.
Honourable House Chair, to Honourable Letsie, yes, a number of initiatives are underway, initiatives that are also being embarked upon by our criminal justice colleagues in a much more focused manner, and in doing so, quite a bit of progress is being made in a number of areas, areas that include dealing with criminal syndicates, and what has also been established and set up are the various task teams that are aimed at curbing criminality in our country. And with all that, we are beginning to see greater progress, because the South African Police Service has adjusted its operational response to the threats that are posed by organized criminal syndicates, in particular with regard to kidnapping for ransom and extortion through various internal initiatives that they have embarked upon. For instance, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation employs what I would call a project-based approach to the investigation of serious organized crime, and a dedicated capacity has also been established in the Division Detective and Forensic Services that is aimed at coordinating investigations into organized criminality. The organized crime threat analysis process makes use of a number of other mechanisms to identify existing and emerging organized crime threats, and this they use as the basis of an appropriate multidisciplinary response. Operational command centers at district, provincial, and national levels further provide for coordination between the South African Police Service, the government departments, and a number of other law enforcement agencies. But this also includes cooperation with civil society partners. With each kidnapping case, a special joint operations committee is convened to deal with those actions. This consists of a multidisciplinary resource center to concentrate on the investigation of the kidnapping case, as well as to deal with the safe release of victims. And with regard to the proliferation trends in extortion, House Chair, a priority committee was established at national level to address the various types of extortion incidents that have emerged. 6 distinct work streams have been established as part of this committee. A committee which consists of also a multidisciplinary group of role players from the South African Police Service and both the public and private security sectors. The external role players include the National Prosecuting Authority, the Financial Intelligence Center, Business Leadership South Africa, Business Unity South Africa, and the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa. To identify South African Police Service members who may be involved in criminal activities, the South African Police itself employs specific counterintelligence measures in addition to routine integrity testing measures, such as vetting, the analysis of financial disclosures, as well as lifestyle audits. The South African Police crime intelligence capability is an integral part of the police service multidisciplinary approach to addressing organized crime, working in collaboration with various other departments. So, Honorable House Chair, I can say that much as we are facing enormous challenges with regard to criminal incidents such as kidnapping, extortion, and many others, the police service and indeed other multidisciplinary agencies are working very hard to ensure that this scourge of criminality is dealt with and dealt with effectively. We are already seeing a great deal of progress in a number of areas and successes that are being recorded by the South African Police Service working together with other agencies. It might still be early days, but I am convinced that we will continue seeing a great deal of progress. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable W.T. Letsia.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President, for your comprehensive answer. These organized crimes are crippling the economy, there's no doubt. And they need all of us to work together, and I'm happy you said there's collaborative work from different agencies. Thank you, Mr. President. Parliament must also play a role, Mr. President, using our PCOs. But when we use our PCOs to have collaborative works with the SAPS, patrollers, and the community at large, some police stations are not responsive, and they are not coming forward with certain things that communities are asking for. And I heard, Mr. President, you are saying there's progress that has been made in all of these things. But when will the community start seeing the results of this collaborative work bearing fruits? Thank you very much.
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I'm glad that the Honorable Letsia has spoken about PCOs. That immediately suggests that in whatever we do to fight the spate of criminality, we need to be focused on community involvement. And it is through community involvement, which can also be executed or done through community policing forums, that we will be able to reduce the incidence of criminality. It is quite often that criminals are known in the area where they operate. People who perpetrate various crimes are usually known, and they can easily be pointed out by people who live in the community. And it is for this reason that we've sought to ensure that we mobilize community policing forums, and we also resource them. I know that resourcing them is a huge task, and with our fiscal constraints, we have not really been able to lay out sufficient resources to enable all of them to do their work. But where they function well, we have found that incidents of criminality do reduce quite significantly. And it is so that through our PCOs, we could be able to empower our communities through the various structures that exist in our communities, be they community policing forums, school governing bodies, sports organizations, and church organizations, including Stockfells, wherever they are. If we engage with them and various structures of our own political parties, we should be able to have eyes on the ground that can help in informing the police and various agencies that are mandated to deal with acts of criminality. So empowering and mobilizing our PCOs would be something of great help. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable members, the second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Zibi.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Honorable President, the rise of extortion is part of a pattern of intelligence failures. From the financing of terrorism abroad from within our country, fake business forums, a military training camp in Mpumalanga, and now this extortion and kidnapping pandemic. They all point to a serious failure of intelligence as we are always reacting. Are we going to see an overhaul of the national intelligence infrastructure to protect the people and our economy? Thank you.
The Honorable President.
Honorable House Chair, we are paying attention to the effectiveness of our intelligence structures, be they SSA, military intelligence, and also the ones in the police, on an ongoing basis. And the various reports that we received, either following what happened to the SSA, which report was led by Professor Mufamadi, or what happened during the July unrest. Those reports spoke to, yes, the weaknesses that are prevalent in some of our agencies. Those are being attended to on an ongoing basis very actively, and also through the legislative processes that this House has been involved in. And we are proceeding to ensure that we renew, we rebuild our agencies, and we strengthen them, as well as to empower them to be able to do their work more effectively. It is a process that is underway, but I am confident that we will be able to succeed in ensuring that our intelligence agencies do actively give out information which can be acted on to prevent spades of criminality and also ensure that there is greater safety in our country. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable members, the third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable D.M. Skosana.
Thank you, House Chair. Mr. President, it will seem that the findings highlighted by the independent panel on the July 2021 riots are once more corroborated, that you failed to convene the National Security Council, where all the intelligence matters are discussed, was at the center of a poor and reactive response by the police. Given the persistent failure of the intelligence agents operating in your office to timelessly detect the evil work of an organized criminal syndicate and extortionists, as evidenced by the reactive and sometimes surprise police, when was the last time that the National Security Council met, and what are the reasons that the NSC is not meeting regularly? And Mr. President, please protect us as well, because some of your members are sleeping here. And I just want to say to you, the DA-led Helen Zille coalition government, they won't get Tswane. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Honorable President, all the honorable members.
Honorable House Chair, the question was, when did the National Security Council meet? I'm pleased to inform the honorable member that it met 2 days ago. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable members, the last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Kojani.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Honorable President, we do note with appreciation the increased number of arrests thanks to the ramping up of intelligence, but it is very concerning that there is still a high number of police officers and illegal foreigners that collude with criminal syndicates. Not only is this bringing shame to the badge of the policeman, but it also demotivates the hard-working and honest men and women in the police force. It also negatively affects the national integrity because foreign nationals have become comfortable in engaging in activities of criminal acts. What are the mechanisms and the strategies in the interim to protect communities, especially the whistleblowers, who have to contact the same police stations that are infiltrated by members? And also, how are we going to monitor the authenticity and the impact of some of the measures that you have mentioned, like lifestyle audits, so that those who are part of high-level investigations at present are not infiltrated by the very same syndicates? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. The process of ensuring that we monitor not only the activities of members of syndicates, but also the members within the police service or other criminal justice agencies is an ongoing one. And it's being pursued quite vigorously to ensure that we do not see a recurring process where these criminal syndicates have their either moles or people who have been captured in our security services or agencies. It is ongoing, and obviously processes like lifestyle audits are reviewed on an ongoing basis, and there's a close monitoring of those, and we are heightening our own alertness through the various arms of the state. And in the end, as we make progress, which you alluded to right at the beginning, that there are a higher number of arrests, and intelligence is showing clear signs of improvement, we will continue in that vein to make sure that in the end we do get on top of these acts of criminality, both inside our own ranks as well as outside. Thank you, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable President. Honourable members, the last question on today's order paper has been asked by the Leader of the Opposition. The question notes that the President has withdrawn and abandoned his application to the Constitutional Court to review the recommendations of the report of the Section 89 Independent Panel, and whether he intends to deal with the findings and recommendations of the report of the Section 89 Independent Panel in light of his commitment to fight corruption. The Honourable President.
On the 13th of December 2022, the National Assembly resolved not to refer the report of Section 89 Independent Panel to an inquiry. In doing so, the National Assembly was exercising its powers as well as responsibilities as outlined in the Constitution and in its own rules. As of today, investigations conducted by a wide range of independent law enforcement agencies have been finalized. The South African Revenue Service, the South African Reserve Bank, the Public Protector, and the Directorate for Priority Crimes Investigations have all concluded investigations into the matter. I could say that none of these bodies have found that there was any wrongdoing on my part. As was my obligation constitutionally and legally, I cooperated with each and every one of these institutions without any form of interference. I answered their questions, provided them with information they required and sought, and where requested, made myself available for interviews. The decision by the Constitutional Court to dismiss my application for direct access to the court to review the independent panel's report was not a determination on the substance of my application. It should be noted that the Constitutional Court will hear arguments in November on whether or not this House, in resolving as it did in December 2022, failed to fulfill its obligations under the Constitution. I myself have full faith and confidence that the Court will decide the issue before it in a comprehensive and final manner. The fight against corruption is a priority of this government and will remain so. We will continue to capacitate, as I've said, law enforcement agencies at the center of this fight against corruption. And we will support the independence of institutions who must act without fear or favor. And I'd like to repeat that I will continue to support those agencies. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable, the Leader of the Opposition.
Right. Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. Mr. President, here is the follow-up question, sir. The MK Party is deeply concerned that, notwithstanding overwhelming evidence, agencies such as SARS, the South African Reserve Bank, the Hawks, the Public Protector, as well as the NPA, the heads of all those agencies are appointed by you, sir. They have cleared you of wrongdoing. This contradicts the findings of an independent panel which was appointed in terms of Section 89 and chaired by the
Honourable members, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, can you just hold there, please? Honourable members, the person who asked the question, the member who asked the question, have 2 minutes to make an intervention followed by the question. Now, if we get these type of interjections, it will not be possible for the President or for myself then to ultimately hear what the follow-up question is. Can we give the member a fair opportunity, please? The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you.
This order.
The panel that was led by retired Chief Justice Nobo concluded that there was a case to answer, inasmuch as you violated your oath of office and you were also implicated in the corruption at Phala Phala Farm. The question is this, sir. Given that in South Africa we transact in rands, and the reports indicate that dollars were found at Phala Phala, are you now in a position to finally take this House into confidence and tell us the truth, that these transactions had nothing to do with a legitimate business, because you cannot conduct a business whilst you are serving as a president of this country, and also was the person who cleared you at NPA, was that person vetted? Thank you.
The Honourable President. All honourable members, the President.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Honourable Thorpe has asked a variety of questions, and I did say in my head reply that this matter was dealt with by the National Assembly, and the National Assembly took a decision. And that decision is now subject of litigation in the Constitutional Court. And I would like to respectfully say we should allow that process to unfold. And it should be a matter that will be dealt with by that court. And the variety of other questions that the Honourable Member has asked were responded to in a variety of institutions that have dealt with this matter, and also dealt with the issue of either the President was conducting business or not, and all those issues were ventilated, and the information has been open to the public, either through court papers or reports that have been issued. So I'd like to submit that these matters have been addressed, responded to, and the other matter is subject to litigation in a very open and transparent manner through our judicial system. Thank you, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable President. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mgweba.
Thank you very much, House Chair.
Honorable President, South Africa as a country is confronted by the scourge of cancerous corruption that divides public resources towards patrimonialist interest that undermines inclusive development of our country. And corruption does not sit well for investment mobilization. Therefore, Honorable President, what are the practical steps that our government is taking to support and strengthen law enforcement agencies to uproot corruption? Thank you very much, House Chair.
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Yes, the government is committed not only to support but to strengthen our law enforcement agencies by ensuring that the right people are appointed, by ensuring that they work in accordance with the rule of law, but also that the agencies have the resources that they require. But more importantly, to assure them and to grant them and give them a clear guarantee that they must work independently without any fear, favor, or prejudice against anyone or from anyone. And in doing so, we ensure that they do the work that they must do. And they must do it to the best of their ability. And if there are any issues or doubts, those should be able to be followed up through our various processes. And we have a number of agencies that enable our commitment to rule of law and to our democracy to function. One of the good things about our country is that we have institutions. Country that does not have institutions that are functional has a democracy that is wobbly, and in our case, the strengthening of our institutions is something that is prominent in my mind and in the determination of the government to ensure that there is rule of law and that there is commitment to doing the right things through the various institutions. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable President. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Zungula.
Thank you, House Chair. Greetings, Mr. President. Greetings, the honorable members, and greetings to the Progressive Caucus. Mr. President, you are the first citizen of the country. You are the person that should inspire confidence that we have systems of law and order that are independent and justice is blind in our country. Yet, after being implicated in serious breach of the law, the akukho kwachaphaza apha kuwe is that supposed to inspire confidence to South Africans. Are South Africans supposed to believe that everyone is equal before the law when ordinary citizens are arrested for holding undeclared foreign currency, violation of Section 34 of PRECA, amongst others? Yet the Reserve Bank, the NPA, and the SARS sees nothing wrong with Phala. The independent panel report, Mr. President, still stands and has not been set aside by any court of law. And not only is it legally binding, but it should be binding to your conscience as well. Mr. President, the question is, does it not matter to you that a report penned by a reputable former Chief Justice found that there is prima facie evidence that you violated the Constitution, a Constitution that you did not only...
Honourable Member, your time is now expired. The Honourable President.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable House Chair, and thank you, Honourable Zungula. It's the first time I ever heard you extend greetings to me. So thank you so much. Honourable House Chair, I did say that it was the National Assembly, which I am not a member of, took a decision on that report. And as we speak now, that report has been challenged, or the decision of the National Assembly has been challenged and is now before the highest court in the land. And I do think that that process should be allowed to unfold, because, as I've often said, we have institutions that are meant to guard our democracy, to ensure that there's rule of law. I do believe that that's precisely what we should do and allow that process to unfold. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable members, the last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable J.S. Malema.
Thank you very much, President. You are aware that we are the ones who have taken this matter on review at the Constitutional Court, because we don't believe that what Parliament did was correct. Mara ntokinyaka o le bontsha yona mogalabe gore le a bona taba ya o tshwana le ya mayor wa former mayor ya Polokwane yele reng lo e lebelela ba e lebeletše a sa le mayor ba e fetša kwa Polokwane ane bjale le re lo mo lebelela ANC yo mo lebelela ke double jeopardy. She dealt with that thing when she was a mayor. There was a president here, and Bulelani Nuka announced that there is prima facie evidence, but not winnable. As we speak today, he's in court. Unlike the former mayor of Polokwane, while Saberegi ditaba tše le sale ka ofising, le tšea maikarabelo, le bitše boraditaba, le nne fase ka gore a go sana selo ka moka na bona ba rile a lena selo ba le tlerile. While sa bitše ditaba la re tlhalosetša gore na matlakala a la boithabišwa
Honorable member,
a fitlhile jwang ka kua polaseng ya lena gore na didola di fitlhile jwang ka polaseng. Not because you are answering any case, but because you are taking the nation into confidence.
Your time has expired.
President Mandela did that.
Thank
Even
you.
on personal matters, President Mandela did that.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Your time has expired. Thank you. The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Karabo Eki Beile, Honorable Cyril Malema. Ki ile ka ebe ya hona ka bolela botse kare taba e di imo matsogo a lekgotla le legolo la naga e, and ntwe uwe isitswe ke lena na ke ne ke kgopela gore le se gona mo uwe e šomiwe ke bao ba na leng tsebo, bao ba tla shebisang dintho tse ka mokana tsona. Ke yona ntho e ke bolelang ke beya mo tafoleng, ke fella gona mo uwe. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable President. I wish to thank the Honorable President for his presence to reply to the questions that was asked. And Honorable members, that concludes the questions to the President. Thank you.
Can I go home now?
Mr. President, that's entirely up to you. Honorable members, I now request you to stand and wait for the chair and the maids to leave the chamber. That concludes the business